Unexpected bid. The auctioneer's amplified voice, laced with static, ricocheted around the livestock pavilion's temporary walls. Lily stood on the platform, stiff and awkward, the scratchy fabric of the borrowed dress a constant irritant. The reek of manure mingled with the sharp tang of fear. Each grunt from the onlookers, each hushed comment, landed like blows against her weakening resolve. She zeroed in on a flaw in the plank flooring, desperate to avoid the predatory stares. A rancher, sporting a prodigious mustache, spat a dark stream into a pail. Two matrons in flowered frocks gossiped in low voices. She was a commodity, reduced to her base value. All right, folks, let's get started. We have here a robust young woman ready to contribute. Let's open the bidding at $50. A smattering of offers trickled in. 50, 75, 100. A cynical chuckle threatened to escape Lily's lips. A mere $100. That was her worth, soon to be squandered by her stepmother on cheap liquor and long-shot dreams. The bidding faltered. The auctioneer, his face glistening with perspiration, attempted to revive the energy. Come now, gentlemen, don't be bashful. Think of the possibilities. She's handy in the kitchen, keeps a clean house, and you see the potential. Lily winced. Dusty Rivers hadn't intended to bid. He'd come to assess a new bull, maybe acquire some additional stock. The entire affair felt distasteful, reeking of exploitation. He'd known enough hardship to recognize its bitter tang. He certainly hadn't anticipated seeing a young woman put up for sale. He'd been leaning against a support beam, brim shadowing his face when she caught his eye. Small and seemingly vulnerable, yet possessing a defiant angle to her chin that piqued his curiosity. Her gaze remained fixed downward, but within those averted eyes flickered a spark he couldn't place. An unexpected surge of protectiveness, dormant for years, stirred within him. A wave of unease spread through the crowd. The auctioneer's words lingered, heavy with veiled implications. Dusty adjusted his stance. He understood the ache of being orphaned, of facing the world alone. 150, someone offered. 200, a voice thundered. Dusty noticed Lily's shoulders droop almost imperceptibly. He tightened his grip. 250, he blurted, the word surprising even him. Every head swiveled in his direction. He straightened up, a flush creeping up his neck. That was impulsive. They knew him. Dusty Rivers. A man known for his taciturn nature. A man of integrity. A good neighbor. What was he doing bidding on a girl? The other bidder, a thick-set farmer notorious for his cruelty, shot Dusty a venomous glare. 300, he barked. Dusty hesitated. He hadn't factored this in. He didn't require a girl. He managed a ranch, not a whatever this was turning into. But he looked at Lily, so isolated and exposed, and the words escaped again, unbidden. 350. The farmer sputtered, his face darkening. He appeared ready to argue, but then seemed to reconsider, muttering something about avoiding a contest with Rivers. Going once. Going twice. Sold. To Mr. Dusty Rivers for $350. The gavel crashed down. A surge of incredulity washed over Dusty. He'd won. He'd actually won. What had he gotten himself into? Lily stared at him, her eyes wide with bewilderment and fear. He couldn't decipher it. He could only pray he hadn't made a grave error. The auctioneer gestured for Lily to descend. She moved mechanically, her eyes locked on Dusty. He stood firm, attempting to project a composure he did not feel. He removed his hat as she approached, a silent act of respect. "Mornin'," he greeted, his voice gravelly. "I'm Dusty Rivers." She offered no response, only studied her scuffed boots. "Come on, let's get you settled," he suggested, indicating his pickup. The drive to the ranch passed in silence. Lily sat huddled against the door, her gaze fixed on the passing scenery. The field stretched out, bathed in golden light, dotted with grazing cattle. In the distance, the sharp peaks of the mountains pierced the skyline. It was picturesque, but she saw no charm, only the stark truth of her predicament. Dusty's farmhouse came into view, a modest, single-story dwelling with a spacious porch and a time-worn fence. A A shaggy mutt with a permanently cocked ear raced out to welcome them, barking with enthusiasm. Dusty parked and turned to Lily. "Welcome my place," he said. Lily stepped out, her eyes darting around. The air carried the sense of hay, dust, and something else, something wild and untamed. It felt worlds away from the confined trailer she'd known. But it was still a prison, merely larger. She turned to Dusty, her expression unreadable. "What do you expect from me?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Dusty sighed. He was winging it. He planned none of this. "I just thought you could use a place to stay," he offered vaguely. "A chance to find your footing." She didn't believe him. He could see the suspicion swirling in her eyes. She believed him to be like the others, a man looking to exploit her. "There's a room upstairs," he continued, pointing towards the house. "It's nothing fancy, but it's clean, and there's plenty of food. You can help around the ranch if you like. Or not. It's your choice." Lily remained still. She stood there, a small, defiant silhouette against the setting sun. He knew this would be a challenge, a stranger's kindness. The room smelled faintly of lavender and beeswax, not the sterile scent of the auction house, nor the sharp tang of horse sweat that clung to Dusty. Lily ran a hand over the worn quilt on the bed, the fabric soft beneath her calloused fingers. A small window looked out over a sprawling landscape, a canvas of browns and golds stretching to a distant, hazy horizon. It was a far cry from the cramped attic room she'd shared with her stepsisters. Dusty stood awkwardly in the doorway, his hat held in his hands. "It ain't much, but it's yours. Least for now." He gestured vaguely. "There's clothes in the wardrobe. Clean ones. Probably too big, but they'll do." Lily didn't speak, her gaze fixed on a small, framed photograph on the bedside table. A woman with kind eyes and a wide smile beamed back at her, holding a baby. Dusty's wife? His daughter? She swallowed, a lump forming in her throat. "Bathroom's down the hall," he continued, his voice gruff. He seemed uncomfortable, unsure of what to say. "Supper's usually around 6. You can join us or not. Up to you." He paused, then met her eyes, his own the color of weathered denim. "You're free to go, Lily May. I won't stop you." The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. Free to go? Why would he say that? Hadn't he just paid good money for her? She narrowed her eyes, searching his face for any hint of deceit. "Why?" she finally asked, her voice barely a whisper. Dusty shifted his weight, his gaze drifting to the floor. Didn't seem right, what was happening back there. Nobody should be bought and sold like that. He looked up, his expression earnest. I had to do something." Lily didn't believe him. There had to be more to it. Men didn't do things out of the goodness of their hearts. Not in her experience. He left her alone, and Lily spent the afternoon exploring the room, touching the worn furniture, examining the unfamiliar objects. She found a stack of books on a shelf, mostly westerns and animal husbandry manuals. She picked one up, tracing the title with her finger, The Soul of the Horse. She opened it, inhaling the musty scent of old paper. Later, she wandered outside. The air was crisp and clean, carrying the scent of pine and dry earth. In the distance, she saw Dusty in a corral, tending to a chestnut mare. He moved with a quiet confidence, his touch gentle as he brushed the horse's flank. He spoke to her in low, soothing tones, and the mare nuzzled against him. Lily watched from the fence line, fascinated. She'd always had a way with animals, a silent understanding that others didn't seem to possess. Her stepfather had forbidden her from keeping any pets, calling them a waste of space and food. But she'd secretly cared for stray cats and injured birds, nursing them back to health in the barn. Dusty noticed her then, his eyes meeting hers across the distance. He didn't smile, but there was a softness in his gaze that she hadn't seen before. He finished brushing the mare, then walked towards her, wiping his hands on his jeans. "She's a beauty, ain't she?" he said, nodding towards the horse. Lily nodded, unable to find her voice. "Her name's Belle," Dusty continued. "She's got a gentle spirit, like you." Lily scoffed, the sound harsh in the quiet afternoon. "Gentle? You don't know me." Dusty's expression didn't change. "Maybe not, but I can see it in your eyes. You got a kind heart, Lily Mae Harding. Don't let nobody tell you different. He turned and walked away, leaving Lily standing alone by the fence, his words echoing in her mind. A kind heart? It was a cruel joke. She was tough, resourceful, and wary. Kindness was a luxury she couldn't afford. But as she watched Dusty disappear into the barn, a seed of doubt began to sprout in her hardened heart. Maybe, just maybe, there was more to him than met the eye. And maybe, just maybe, she was wrong about him. But she couldn't shake the feeling that this unexpected kindness came with a price. She just didn't know what that price was. Whispers of the past. The smell of hay dust and manure clinging to her borrowed overalls was a far cry from the cloying sweetness of the perfume parlor where her stepmother, Marlene, had insisted she work after school. Lily grimaced, remembering Marlene's pinched face and perpetually disapproving gaze. A girl's got to learn to attract, not repel, she'd said, shoving a bottle of sickeningly sweet rose-scented oil into Lily's hands. Lily scrubbed a particularly stubborn patch of mud off a fence post. Marlene wouldn't approve of this either, getting her hands dirty, working like a common farmhand. Marlene had always envisioned a different future for Lily, one involving frilly dresses, simpering smiles, and a wealthy husband to escape the hardscrabble life they both endured. A life Lily never wanted. A sharp memory pierced through the present. The cramped attic room she shared with her younger half-siblings, the peeling wallpaper patterned with faded bluebells, the incessant drone of Marlene's complaining voice echoing up the stairs. Lily had spent countless nights huddled by the small, dusty window, tracing constellations on the inky black sky, dreaming of escape. She'd imagined herself far away from the dilapidated farmhouse, a place where the air smelled clean and the land stretched endlessly. She dreamt of horses, their flanks gleaming in the sun, and of wide-open spaces where she could run free, unburdened by Marlene's resentment and the constant pressure to be someone she wasn't. She devoured books about animal husbandry, memorizing breeds and their temperaments, nursing a secret desire to work with them, to understand their silent language. Those dreams had felt like a lifeline, a fragile hope in a sea of drudgery. Now, standing on Dusty's ranch, the scent of horses and the expanse of the land hitting her senses all at once, Lily felt a flicker of something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. Possibility. But with it came a wave of apprehension, a fear that this, too, was just another illusion, another temporary reprieve before the inevitable disappointment. Dusty emerged from the barn, his silhouette framed against the golden light. He carried a heavy bucket, its contents sloshing with each step. "Need a hand with that?" Lily asked, surprising herself at the offer. He stopped, a genuine smile crinkling the corners of his eyes. "That'd be great, Lily. Thanks." Together, they carried the bucket to the pig pen, where a sow grunted impatiently, her piglets squealing and jostling for space. Dusty showed Lily how to pour the feed into the trough, explaining the importance of ensuring each piglet got its share. Lily watched, fascinated, as the animals devoured the mixture, their snouts working furiously. "They're hungry little things," she observed, a hint of amusement in her voice. "Always are," Dusty chuckled. "Takes a lot to keep them fed." As they walked back towards the barn, Dusty pointed to a stack of weathered wooden crates. "Think you could sort those out? See if any are still good enough to use for storing apples? We'll be harvesting soon." Lily hesitated for only a moment. Sorting crates was hardly glamorous, but it was a task, something to occupy her mind and keep her hands busy. "Sure," she said, trying to keep her voice neutral. "I can do that." She spent the next few hours in the shade of the barn, sifting through the crates. Some were rotten, crumbling at the touch. Others were sturdy, just needing a bit of cleaning and repair. As she worked, she found herself falling into a rhythm, the repetitive motion soothing her frayed nerves. She discovered a small, intricately carved wooden bird hidden inside one of the crates. It was worn and faded, but the details were still remarkable. A wren, its tiny beak slightly open as if caught in mid-song. Lily turned it over in her hands, a strange sense of connection washing over her. Who had carved this? What story did it hold? The sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. Lily gathered the usable crates into a neat stack and placed the little wooden bird on top, a silent offering to the fading light. She caught Dusty watching her from across the yard. He didn't say anything, just nodded slightly, a gesture that felt like both acknowledgement and approval. Lily met his gaze, a flicker of something unfamiliar passing between them. A question? An understanding? She couldn't quite decipher it. As she walked back to the house, the scent of wood smoke hanging in the air, Lily realized that the whispers of the past were still there, echoing in her mind, but they were slowly being drowned out by the sounds of the present. The lowing of cattle, the gentle breeze rustling through the trees, and the quiet hum of possibility that had taken root in her heart. It was a fragile thing, this hope, easily crushed, but for the first time in a long time, Lily allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could finally build a life worth living. Riding free, Dusty watched Lily muck out the last stall, her brow furrowed in concentration. The late afternoon sun streamed through the barn doors, painting the dust motes dancing around her in a golden light. He leaned against a post, chewing on a piece of straw. "Think you've earned yourself a break, Lily May." She straightened, wiping her forehead with the back of her hand, leaving a smudge of dirt. "I'm Fine. What else needs doing? Nothing that can't wait. How about I teach you to ride?" Her eyes widened, a flicker of surprise crossing her face. "Ride? You mean a horse?" Dusty grinned. "Unless you were thinking of a particularly stubborn bull." He gestured toward the paddock. "Come on, I've got just a mare for you. Gentle as they come." He led her to a chestnut mare with a white blaze, saddled and waiting patiently. "This is Belle. She's a good girl." He showed Lily how to brush Belle down, explaining the importance of checking for any sores or injuries. Lily listened intently, her touch surprisingly gentle as she ran the brush along Belle's flank. "All right," Dusty said, once Belle was gleaming. "Now the fun part." He showed Lily how to adjust the stirrups, explaining how to mount and hold the reins. "Easy does it," he cautioned, as she swung her leg over Belle's back, a little awkwardly. Lily sat stiffly in the saddle, her hands clenched tight around the reins. Belle shifted beneath her, and Lily gasped. "Easy, girl," she murmured, mimicking Dusty's soothing tone. Dusty chuckled softly. "Relax, Lily May. Belle knows what she's doing. Just feel her movements." He walked beside her, holding the lead rein. Heels down, back straight, and breathe. They started off at a slow walk, Dusty offering constant encouragement. Lily gradually began to loosen up, her grip on the reins easing. After a few circuits of the paddock, Dusty let go of the lead rein. "You got this," he said, his voice low and steady. "Just trust Belle." Lily took a deep breath and squeezed her legs gently. Belle responded instantly, breaking into a trot. Lily bounced in the saddle, her initial fear quickly replaced by exhilaration. The wind whipped through her hair, and the rhythmic beat of Belle's hooves against the earth filled her ears. She laughed, a sound that was both surprised and joyful. They rode out of the paddock and onto a trail that wound through the golden fields. The sun was beginning to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange, pink, and purple. Lily urged Belle into a canter, the mare's powerful strides eating up the ground. The feeling of freedom was intoxicating. It was as if she was flying, unbound by the constraints of her past, the expectations of her stepmother, the weight of her own insecurities. She pulled Belle to a stop on a small rise overlooking the valley. Dusty rode up beside her, his expression unreadable. Lily took a deep breath, the scent of sage and earth filling her lungs. I can't remember the last time I felt like this," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Dusty turned to her, his eyes searching hers. "Like what?" "Free," she said, the word catching in her throat. "Like I could just be." He nodded slowly, understanding dawning in his eyes. This land does that to a person. It strips away all the unnecessary stuff and leaves you with what's real. They sat in silence for a long moment, watching the sunset. The air grew cooler, and the first stars began to appear in the darkening sky. Lily felt a connection to this place, to this land, and to the man beside her. A connection she hadn't anticipated, but one that felt strangely right. Dusty pointed to a distant light twinkling in the valley below. That's the town of Harmony. Population, about 300 friendly faces, give or take a few gossips. Lily smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. Harmony, she repeated. It sounds nice. Dusty looked at her, his gaze intense. It can be, but it's what you make of it, Lily May. Just like anything else. He paused, then added softly, and you, Lily, you could bring a lot of light to that town. He nudged his horse, turning back towards the ranch. Lily followed, Bell's gait slow and steady in the fading light. As they rode, Lily glanced over at Dusty. He was silhouetted against the darkening sky, his face hidden in shadow. But she could feel his gaze on her, a silent acknowledgement of the shared moment, the unspoken connection that had formed between them. The fear that had been a constant companion began to recede, replaced by a tentative flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she could build a life here, a life filled with purpose, belonging, and maybe even love. Threats on the horizon. The dust hadn't even settled from Lily's exhilarating ride when a different kind of storm rolled onto the Harmony horizon. A black Ford truck, polished to a gleaming arrogance, rattled up the long drive, spitting gravel. Dusty stiffened, his hand instinctively tightening on the fence post he'd been leaning against. Lily, still flushed with the joy of her newfound skill, watched with growing unease as the truck screeched to a halt, blocking the path to the barn. A large man unfolded himself from a cab, his belly straining against the pearl snaps of his western shirt. Hank Thompson. His name tasted like ash in Dusty's mouth. Hank's face was florid, the color heightened by the afternoon sun, and what Dusty suspected was a generous intake of whiskey. Rivers, Hank boomed, his voice thick with condescension. Thought I'd drop by and see how you're faring. Dusty didn't offer a hand. Thompson, what brings you all the way out here? Hank chuckled, a sound that grated like a rusty hinge. Just neighborly concern. Heard you've acquired some new help. His eyes flicked to Lily, lingering a beat too long, assessing, calculating. Lily felt a chill crawl down her spine. She stepped closer to Dusty, a silent declaration of alliance. Lily's helping out around the place, Dusty said, his voice hardening. He positioned himself slightly in front of Lily, a protective gesture she didn't miss. Hank's smile didn't reach his eyes. Right? Well, Rivers, I wanted to talk to you about something more pressing. This land. He swept his arm, encompassing the fields stretching towards the horizon. You know, times are tough. Ranching ain't what it used to be. Heard you were having a little trouble making ends meet last year. Dusty's jaw tightened. That's my business. Everything's everyone's business in a town like Harmony, Hank said smoothly. I've been thinking, Rivers. This land, it's valuable. Prime grazing. And let's be honest, you're not exactly utilizing it to its full potential. He paused, letting the words hang in the air like a threat. I'd be willing to make you a fair offer. A very generous one, considering the circumstances. Lily could practically smell the desperation clinging to Dusty. She saw the way his knuckles whitened as he gripped the fence. He was a good man, a hard-working man, and this bloated bully was trying to take advantage of him. This land's been in my family for generations, Thompson, Dusty said, his voice low and dangerous. It's not for sale. Hank's smile vanished. His eyes turned cold and hard. Don't be a fool, Rivers. Everyone has a price. And sometimes things happen, accidents. A sudden illness among your herd. A fire in the barn. These things can be devastating. He let the implications sink in. The air crackled with tension. Dusty took a step forward, his fists clenched. Lily knew he was trying to protect her, but she wouldn't let him face this alone. A fierce protectiveness surged through her, surprising even herself. You threatening him? Lily asked, her voice surprisingly steady. Hank turned his gaze on her, his lips curling into a sneer. And who might you be, little girl? Think you have any say in this? Lily stood tall, meeting his gaze without flinching. The fear was still there, a knot in her stomach, but she refused to let it show. I'm Lily. And I think anyone who threatens someone's livelihood is a coward. Hank's face darkened. You should watch your mouth, girl. You don't know who you're talking to. I know exactly who I'm talking to, Lily retorted, her voice gaining strength. A bully who thinks he can push people around because he has money. But money doesn't buy you respect, Mr. Thompson. It just buys you fancy trucks and a bigger gut. Dusty stared at her, a mixture of shock and admiration in his eyes. He hadn't expected this fiery defiance from her. He'd seen the weariness in her eyes, the resignation, but he hadn't seen this. Hank sputtered, his face turning an alarming shade of purple. You little... Get off my land, Thompson, Dusty interrupted, his voice a low growl. Before I forget my manners. Hank glared at them both, his eyes burning with resentment. He knew he couldn't win this battle, not with Lily's unexpected intervention. Not now. This isn't over, Rivers, he snarled before turning on his heel and stomping back to his truck. He slammed the door, the sound echoing across the fields. He revved the engine, spraying gravel as he sped away, leaving a cloud of dust and a lingering sense of unease in his wake. Dusty watched him go, his jaw tight. He turned to Lily, his expression unreadable. You didn't have to do that, he said quietly. Lily shrugged, trying to downplay the tremor in her hands. Someone had to. Protecting the ranch. The morning after Thompson's visit arrived like a freshly laundered sheet, all clean edges and blinding light. A hum of apprehension vibrated between Dusty and Lily, an invisible current sparked by unspoken fears. The echoes of Thompson's veiled threats, countered by Lily's unexpected steel, still resonated in the air. Dusty felt the need to act, to puncture the stifling atmosphere. That fence ain't gonna fix itself, he mumbled, heading for the tool shed. Might as well tackle it. Lily trailed after him, her movements less tentative than in those early days. The damaged section ran along the south pasture, victim of a bull's ill-tempered campaign against the aged wood. Posts leaned at odd angles, and the wire slumped like a discarded necklace. Dusty tossed her a pair of work gloves. Despite their oversized fit, she accepted them with a quiet smile. They labored in comfortable silence, the rhythmic clang of hammer against metal a steady pulse against the backdrop of distant cattle calls. Dusty guided her through the use of the wire stretcher, its gears protesting as it wrestled the slack wires taut. Lily absorbed the lesson with focused intensity, her brow creased in thought. You catch on quick, Dusty noted, impressed by her aptitude. Had to, she replied, her voice devoid of inflection. Dusty sensed the invisible barrier she often erected and refrained from probing. Well, you've got a knack for it. As the sun climbed, the labor intensified. Dusty wiped beads of sweat from his brow with the back of his hand. He observed Lily wrestling with a particularly uncooperative strand of wire. Here, let me give you a hand, he offered. Their fingers brushed, sending a surprising spark skittering between them. Lily recoiled, a sudden bloom of color on her cheeks. They finished the fence as afternoon bled into evening, the mended section a testament to their joint effort. Spotting Lily heading for the barn as they gathered their tools, Dusty called out, "Where are you off to?" "Heard a calf cough earlier," she responded, her voice a mere breath. "Thought I'd check on it." Dusty followed. Inside, the barn was redolent with the earthy scent of hay and manure. Lily made a beeline for a pen in the corner where a small, brown calf lay motionless in the straw, its breathing shallow. She knelt, her touch gentle as she ran a hand along its side. Her tenderness surprised Dusty, as did her confident touch. "It's running a fever," she reported, glancing up at him. "And its muzzle is dry." Dusty frowned. "Probably just a touch of cold. Penicillin should do the trick." Lily shook her head. "It's more than a cold. Could be pneumonia. We need to bring its temperature down and keep it hydrated." She sifted through Dusty's limited veterinary supplies, efficiently locating a thermometer and a syringe. Dusty watched, impressed, as she administered an electrolyte solution with practiced ease. "Where did you learn all this?" he asked, genuinely curious. Lily hesitated, her focus fixed on the calf. I always wanted to be a vet," she confessed, her voice barely audible. "Ever since I was a kid." I lost myself in books about animals, their ailments, and how to heal them. Dusty was taken aback, witnessing the depth of a dream she had kept hidden, buried beneath a hardened facade. A vet, huh, he said, a slow smile spreading across his face. That's something, Lily. She met his gaze, her eyes searching his for any hint of mockery. It's foolish, I know. Just a childish fantasy. It's not foolish at all, Dusty countered, his tone firm. It's a worthwhile ambition. A good dream. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Why didn't you ever make it real? Lily's expression darkened, her gaze returning to the calf. I didn't have the resources, she admitted quietly, or anyone to believe in me. Dusty knelt beside her, his heart aching for the dreams she had been forced to relinquish. He placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Well, he said softly, perhaps things are different now. A spark of hope ignited in Lily's eyes. What do you mean? I mean, Dusty said, maybe you finally found someone who'll help you chase down your dreams. He hesitated, carefully weighing his next words. And this ranch, we gotta protect it too, because both these dreams are worth fighting for. Sabotage and sacrifice. The silence was ominous, a stark contrast to the familiar dawn chorus of the plains. The pump jack, that iron lung breathing life into the ranch, was mute. A sour feeling clenched Dusty's gut as he hurried toward the wellhead. He found it, inert, lifeless. A heavy chain, ordinarily coiled neatly, was now a steel serpent tangled in the machinery, choking its operation. A pained screech echoed as he wrestled with the obstruction. Sabotage. Thompson's oily voice, dripping with veiled threats from the saloon, resonated in Dusty's mind. This wasn't mere mischief. It was a calculated attack, designed to bleed the ranch dry. Deprived of water, the land, the livestock, Lily, all would wither. He discovered Lily in the barn, her brow furrowed in concentration as she attended to a newborn calf. Her hands, though roughened by work, possessed a delicate sureness. Reluctantly, he broke her focus. Lily, he began, his tone grave, we've got a problem. The well's been hit. Her head jerked up, concern clouding her features. What are you saying? He described the scene. Her expression hardened to flint as she listened. That sidewinder, she hissed. He's trying to starve you out. Looks that way, Dusty conceded. I'll try to fix it, but it'll take time. We need water, for the stock, for everyone. Lily was already in motion, snatching her hat from Peg. I know of a place, she stated, her voice resolute. An old spring up in the north pasture. It's been dormant for years, but with the recent deluges, a spark of hope ignited in Dusty's chest. Think it might be running again? Worth a try, she affirmed, her gaze unwavering. Let's go. The north pasture was a harsh landscape, a tapestry of gnarled brush and jagged rock. The air, saturated with the pungent aroma of sage and damp soil, hung heavy. Lily moved with the instinct of one born to the land, guiding them through the uneven terrain. Dusty followed, his anxiety a lead weight in his soul. They located the spring tucked away in a shallow gully, almost swallowed by rampant growth. A meager trickle oozed from the rock face, barely dampening the earth. Not much, Dusty observed, his disappointment palpable. Enough to begin, Lily countered, kneeling beside the source. She surveyed the area, her brow creased in thought. There's a vein underground. Clearing some of this might open it up. Dusty didn't hesitate. Grabbing a shovel, he attacked the earth, his muscles screaming in protest. Lily worked alongside him, her slight frame belying her strength. They labored in strained silence, punctuated only by the grating of metal on stone and the whisper of a nascent spring. After hours of grueling effort, a small pool emerged. Paltry, but a beginning. This needs reinforcing, Dusty panted, wiping his forehead. Otherwise, it'll collapse. He started gathering rocks, building a rough retaining wall. Reaching for a hefty boulder, the earth betrayed him. He stumbled, losing his grip as the rock plummeted, trapping his leg against the exposed bedrock of the spring. A cry tore from his throat, a white-hot jolt lancing through his leg. Lily was instantly by his side, her face a mask of worry. "Dusty, are you hurt?" He attempted to shift his leg, but agony seized him. "I think it's broken." Lily's eyes widened, but her voice remained steady. "Don't move. I'll get it off you." She heaved against the massive stone, her sinews straining. "Immovable. I can't," she gasped, her voice trembling. "I can't lift it." Dusty gritted his teeth, battling the escalating pain. The truck, the come-along in the back. Lily didn't pause. Scrambling upright, she sprinted toward the vehicle, impelled by desperate resolve. Dusty watched her vanish, his breath shallow and ragged. Every tick of time was critical. The spring represented their only lifeline, and he was pinned, vulnerable. Thompson may have landed a blow, but Lily's resilience and knowledge held the only chance of salvation for the ranch. A cowboy's fight. Lily worked tirelessly. Days blurred into a cycle of fetching water from the distant creek, preparing simple meals, and tending to Dusty's leg. The swelling had subsided, leaving a landscape of angry purple bruises blooming across his calf. He bore the pain with a stoicism that both impressed and worried her. She knew, instinctively, he was downplaying it. "Easy there, Doc," Dusty grumbled as she adjusted the makeshift splint. "I ain't made of glass." "No," Lily retorted, tightening the bandage just a touch more than necessary. "But you're certainly acting like a stubborn mule." He chuckled, a dry, rasping sound. "And you're turning into a regular Florence Nightingale." The compliment, however gruff, warmed her. "Someone has to keep you from doing something stupid." "Stupid, huh? Like trusting a city girl with a busted-up cowboy?" Lily met his gaze, her resolve hardening. "You didn't have a choice, did you?" She softened her tone. "Besides, who else is going to milk Bessie?" A flicker of a smile crossed his face. "Point taken." He sighed, the humor fading. This couldn't have happened at a worse time. Lily knew what he meant. Thompson, the land, everything hanging by a thread. As Dusty healed, Lily began a secret project. Every morning, before the sun crested the horizon, she'd sneak out to the corral. Gingerly, she started exercising Duke, Dusty's prize-winning quarter horse. He was a magnificent animal, his coat the color of burnished copper, his muscles rippling with suppressed energy. She'd never ridden a horse before, not really, but she'd watched Dusty, learned his subtle cues, the way he communicated with the animal through gentle pressure and whispered words. She wasn't trying to become a rodeo star. She just needed to get Duke back in shape for Dusty. The first few days were clumsy. She nearly fell off a dozen times. Duke, sensing her inexperience, tested her patience, stopping abruptly, sidestepping, even trying to nip at her. But Lily persevered. She read books about horsemanship by lantern light, absorbing every detail. She practiced mounting and dismounting, posting at a trot, and guiding Duke through simple patterns. Slowly, painstakingly, a connection formed. She found a rhythm, a shared understanding with a horse that surprised and delighted her. One afternoon, Dusty watched her from the porch, leaning heavily on a crutch. He hadn't said anything about her early morning rides, but she knew he was aware. As she brought Duke to a halt near the fence, he cleared his throat. "You ride decently." It was high praise coming from him. Lily grinned, her cheeks flushed with exertion. "Thanks. I've been practicing." Dusty's expression turned serious. "Hank Thompson came by again yesterday." Her stomach clenched. "What did he want?" "Same as always. My land. He offered me a pittance, said I was a fool to hold on to it, said I was too stubborn to see that I was beaten." Lily dismounted, tethering Duke to the fence. She walked over to Dusty, her heart aching for him. "He's wrong." "Is he?" "Look at me, Lily. I am Hubbard. My well's dry. I can barely afford to feed the stock. Maybe he's right. Maybe I am beaten." She reached out, taking his hand. His grip was strong, calloused, but she felt a tremor of doubt running through him. "No, Dusty, you're not beaten. You just hurt. You're a fighter. I know you are." He looked at her, his blue eyes filled with a weariness she hadn't seen before. "What am I fighting for, Lily? This land? It's just dirt and rocks. A constant struggle." She squeezed his hand tighter. "You're fighting for more than that. You're fighting for your home. For your way of life. For the possibility of something better. She hesitated, her cheeks burning. For us. Dusty's gaze softened. He lifted his hand, cupping her cheek. Us. Lily nodded, unable to speak. Thompson challenged me, he said, his voice low. A riding competition. Winner takes all. Lily's eyes widened. He's trying to goad you. He knows I can barely walk. He thinks he's already won. Then you'll prove him wrong. Dusty shook his head, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. I can't even get on a horse, Lily. Not yet, she said, her voice firm. But you will. I'll help you. He stared at her, his eyes searching hers. You think I can do this? Lily met his gaze, her heart filled with a fierce determination. I know you can. You're Dusty Rivers. You're a cowboy, and cowboys fight for what they love. Love's reward. The desert sun hammered the arena, turning the spectators a parched bronze. Lily worried at her nail, her gaze riveted to Dusty. Perched atop Duke, a dark figure against the bright expanse, his jaw was firm, his focus absolute. Across the dusty expanse, Hank Thompson, astride his own powerful mount, exuded disdain. An electric tension gripped the air, palpable as grit. The announcer's voice resonated, outlining the course. A series of tight barrel turns, a flat-out sprint, and a final leap over a hastily constructed barricade. Hank exploded from the gate, horse and rider a whirlwind of dust and motion, executing the course with practiced precision. The crowd erupted as he blazed across the finish, a self-satisfied smirk plastered on his face. Lily's pulse quickened to a gallop. She believed in Dusty's skill, had witnessed the seamless unity of man and horse, a pas de deux of trust and expertise. But Hank was a dangerous rival, driven by avarice and unyielding ambition. Dusty offered a single, almost imperceptible nod as the signal sounded. He spurred Duke forward, and a hush fell over the arena. They flowed as a single entity, a perfect extension of each other, threading the barrels with a delicate grace that belied Duke's powerful build. The wind roared in Dusty's ears as he leaned into each turn, his movements economical and precise. A ripple of apprehension passed through the crowd as Duke faltered slightly at the second barrel. Hank's smirk widened, but Dusty remained unperturbed. With a subtle shift of weight, he cajoled Duke back into rhythm, the horse responding instantly. Lily squeezed her eyes shut for a heartbeat, then forced herself to observe. They were closing the gap. The sprint became a blur of pounding hooves and straining muscles, Duke eating up the ground with breathtaking speed. Lily could almost feel the vibration through her own bones. As they hurtled toward the final jump, a collective gasp swept through the stands. Dusty gave a subtle squeeze. Duke launched himself skyward, clearing the fence with breathtakingly narrow clearance. They touched down gracefully, sending a wave of triumphant cheers through the crowd. The announcer's voice, amplified by the speakers, declared, "And the winner, Dusty Rivers." Lily hooped, leaping to her feet, applauding and shouting with unrestrained joy. Dusty lifted a hand in acknowledgement, his eyes finding hers across the arena. A spark of warmth, a silent wave of gratitude, resonated between them. Hank Thompson's face twisted into a mask of bitter frustration. He dug his heels into his horse's flanks and stormed from the arena, leaving a cloud of dust and simmering resentment in his wake. As twilight draped the sky in shades of apricot and lavender, Dusty found Lily near the stables. He was still glowing with the thrill of victory, his eyes alight with exhilaration. "That was incredible," Lily breathed, her voice low. "Duke was magnificent." Dusty smiled, a genuine, open smile that radiated warmth. "He was, but you transformed him. You saw something in him that I missed completely." Lily blushed, averting her gaze. He just needed a little encouragement. A peaceful quiet descended, broken only by the soft sounds of horses contentedly shifting in their stalls. Dusty took a step closer, his hand reaching out to gently brush a strand of hair from her cheek. "Lily," he said, his voice thick with emotion. I don't know what I'd do without you." Lily looked up, her heart pounding a frantic tattoo against her ribs. The emotion she had tried so desperately to bury, the yearning she had kept locked away, surged to the forefront, threatening to consume her. "Dusty," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. The words eluded her. How could she possibly articulate the depth of her feelings? The kindness and respect he'd shown her, the home and purpose he had provided, the renewed faith he had instilled within her. Dusty seemed to sense her struggle. He gently framed her face with his hands, his thumbs tracing soft circles on her cheekbones. "You don't need to say anything," he murmured, his voice rough and tender. "I understand." He leaned in and kissed her, a slow, lingering kiss that conveyed everything. It was a kiss that tasted of sunshine and earth, a promise of hope and new beginnings. A kiss that forged their connection, a vow for a future built on trust and unwavering love. When they parted, Lily's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I love you, Dusty," she confessed, the words spilling out in a rush of emotion. "I never imagined I could feel like this, but I do. I love you." Dusty smiled, his eyes overflowing with affection. "I love you too, Lily, more than words can say." He drew her close, enveloping her in his arms, holding her tight. Standing there, bathed in the fading light of the setting sun, Lily knew she had finally found her place, her sanctuary, her love. It was unconventional, unexpected, and utterly real, and it was everything she had ever yearned for. The future unfolded before them, uncertain yet brimming with potential, but they would face it together, side by side, their love a guiding star across the vast Texan landscape. They had won the fight for the ranch. Now, they would cultivate a life, a love, a future together.